But my mind was never as clear as it was at that moment.
Once Upon a Time in America wasn't just a gangster epic, it was an autopsy of memory guilt and betrayal told through the smoke of opium and the dust of dreams. Behind its haunting beauty lay chaos and heartbreak. Actors feuded, studios panicked, decades of Sergio Leone's obsession nearly collapsed in ruin. Today we're pulling back the curtain with 20 weird facts about Once Upon a Time in America, including a bonus revelation that even die-hard Leone fans rarely believe. It took Leone over 15 years to get it made. The film began gestating in the early 1970s when Sergio Leone read Harry Gray's semi-autobiographical novel The Hoods. He became obsessed, but studios didn't trust his vision. They wanted another Dollars Western. Leone wanted an elegy for lost innocence, but he spent 15 years chasing financing, rewriting scripts, and begging De Niro to join. He even turned down The Godfather just to focus on this dream. By the time cameras finally rolled in, 1982, Leone's perfectionism had consumed him. Cruise joked that he lived more in Noodle's flashbacks than in Rome. When the film wrapped, he wept not from relief, but exhaustion. He'd finally built his American monument, one brick of memory at a time. Robert De Niro demanded real criminal intel. De Niro didn't just act as Noodles, he wanted to understand him. Before filming, he met retired mobsters in Brooklyn who had survived Prohibition. He asked about torture methods, safe houses, and betrayal codes. He even recorded their slang to reproduce it word for word. When one gangster told him, "You never cry at funerals, you get remembered for that," De Niro wrote it in his notebook. He applied the same rule during Max's death scene, never blinking as the past unraveled. Leone encouraged the obsession, but crew members whispered that De Niro's quiet intensity disturbed everyone on set. He refused to drop character between takes, pacing empty New York streets long after shooting ended. To him, Noodles wasn't just a role, he was a ghost that wouldn't leave. Elizabeth McGovern nearly quit during filming. Elizabeth McGovern, who played Deborah, faced one of the film's most emotionally violent scenes, the brutal car assault that would define Noodles' moral collapse. Leone demanded dozens of takes, forcing her to relive the trauma again and again. McGovern later said it was one of the hardest experiences of her life. She felt Leone's pursuit of realism crossed into cruelty. Crew members begged him to move on, but he refused, claiming he needed to destroy romance in the frame. After wrapping the scene, McGovern isolated herself, refusing to speak for days. She told a journalist years later that she never rewatched it. For her, that moment wasn't just fiction, it was the day she saw the darker cost of cinematic perfectionism. James Woods was cast after an insult. Sergio Leone didn't initially want James Woods. He thought Woods was too intellectual, too slick. But when Woods learned that Leone described him that way, he sent the director a telegram that simply read, "I am the intellectual, slick person you need." Leone laughed and invited him to Rome. During their first meeting, Woods called Leone a genius who was terrified of emotion. That boldness sealed the role. Their relationship grew into strange mutual respect. Leone often filmed Woods without warning, capturing genuine irritation that looked perfect on camera. Woods later called the film the best experience of my life and the worst. He said working with Leone was like serving under a tyrant who loved you too much to let you breathe. Ennio Morricone composed the score years before filming. Leone had Morricone start writing music before a single frame was shot. He believed the score was the soul of the film. Morricone delivered full orchestrations 5 years before production even began. The music played on set through speakers during scenes to control rhythm and tone. Actors said they could feel the story breathing through the violins. The haunting pan flute theme guided Leone's editing too. He cut to music rather than dialogue. When Warner Brothers butchered the American release, cutting hours of footage, Morricone's score was mutilated too. Critics said it sounded misplaced. Only in the restored version did audiences finally hear the tragic heartbeat Leone and Morricone had crafted years before, a requiem written for memories that refused to die. The original cut was nearly 10 hours long. Leone never imagined Once Upon a Time in America as a normal movie. He saw it as a symphony in images. His original edit ran almost 10 hours, and he wanted it shown in 2 parts released months apart. Warner Brothers executives panicked. They feared audiences would never sit through such a long epic with no clear hero. So, Leone trimmed it down to 4 hours himself, painfully slicing scenes he called the veins of the story. But even that wasn't enough. The studio took it from him and hacked it into a 2-hour chronological mess. Critics at the 1984 U.S. premiere called it incoherent. Leone left the theater before it ended. Years later, the European cut restored his vision, a shattered masterpiece rebuilt from fragments. The studio butchered it without his consent. When Warner Brothers re-edited the film for American release, they didn't just cut scenes, they reversed the entire structure. Leone's dreamlike flashbacks were rearranged into strict chronological order, destroying its emotional rhythm. He begged the studio not to release it that way. They ignored him. Critics mocked the version as incomprehensible. Roger Ebert called it an incomprehensible heap of celluloid. Leone was devastated. He refused to work with American studios again. Years later, when the European cut premiered at Cannes, it received a 20-minute standing ovation. Audiences finally saw the film the way it was meant to be. Not a gangster movie, but a requiem for time itself. By then, Leone had stopped giving interviews about Hollywood. He said simply, "They stole my dream." Jennifer Connelly's first film role was terrifying. Before she became a star, Jennifer Connelly was a 13-year-old newcomer cast as young Deborah. Her first day on set was daunting. Leone directed her like a chess piece, demanding exact body positions and gestures. He made her repeat her dance rehearsal dozens of times under hot lights while the camera drifted slowly. Connelly didn't realize she was part of a scene exploring male voyeurism. Years later, she said Leone's precision felt hypnotic, not cruel, but confusing to a child. Watching her footage now, she said it's like seeing a ghost of myself who didn't yet understand the world. Leone praised her composure, calling her the spirit of lost youth. That haunting innocence became one of the film's emotional anchors, fragile beauty surrounded by corruption. The film's opium den scenes were shot in real abandoned tenements. To achieve authenticity, Leone refused studio sets for the opium den scenes. He found a decaying building in Manhattan's Lower East Side filled with peeling wallpaper and collapsing ceilings. The air was thick with mold and dust. Crew members wore masks. Actors did not. De Niro insisted on lying in actual grime to convey Noodle's dissociation. The cinematographer used minimal light, letting the haze of incense and decay carry the tone. The set smelled so bad that production assistants fainted. But Leone loved it. He said the walls were breathing memory. What audiences didn't know was that every cough on screen was real. By the time the crew finished filming, the location was condemned. They had captured it in its final days, a tomb for lost souls. Leone wanted to end the film differently. The iconic ending, Noodles smiling in the opium den, was never the only option. Leone toyed with several versions. One showed Max dying in Noodles' arms. Another hinted it was all a hallucination during an overdose. Yet Leone chose ambiguity. That smile could mean madness or enlightenment or denial. He told Morricone the ending is not truth, but memory pretending to be truth. Some believe the whole adult timeline is Noodles' opium dream. Others think he achieves peace by forgiving Max. Leone refused to confirm either theory. He believed mystery was sacred. "When cinema explains too much, it dies," he said. That final grin still divides audiences, a riddle sealed inside a cloud of smoke and regret. A real gangster helped shape the script. Leone based Once Upon a Time in America on the novel The Hoods, written by a former mobster named Harry Gray. But Leone did not just use the book. He met Gray in person at a diner in New York. Gray arrived wearing dark glasses and refused to give his real name. For days, Leone questioned him about loyalty betrayal and guilt. Gray spoke in riddles, saying things like, "The past is not gone, it is only hiding." Leone left each meeting shaken. He told friends it felt like talking to a ghost who knew he was dead. Many of Gray's stories ended up in the script. Some were so brutal that censors demanded they be cut. Gray later vanished. No one ever saw him again. The cast ate rotten food for realism. Leone demanded his actors live like Depression-era street kids. During the early scenes of childhood poverty, he refused to let the young cast eat catered food. Instead, he had prop masters serve stale bread and cold soup just to keep performances authentic. The kids thought it was the punishment. Leone told them, "This is how hunger looks on screen." Crew members worried about food poisoning, but Leone believed comfort ruined truth. The result is visible in every frame. The grime, the exhaustion, the hollow looks were not acting. When filming ended, the children were given a lavish banquet as apology. Years later, they said the feast felt unreal compared to the hunger Leone had shown them. The garbage truck. Death was a miniature effect gone wrong. The famous shot where Max is crushed by a garbage truck looked gruesomely real, because it almost was. Leone used a full-scale hydraulic mechanism to simulate crushing. A stunt dummy was fitted with pumps filled with fake blood, but the timing malfunctioned. The pressure burst early, splattering the set walls and shocking the crew. James Woods, who played Max, was standing nearby and thought the machine had malfunctioned fatally. Production stopped for hours while technicians checked every component. Leone reviewed the footage and smiled, saying it was too real to waste. That take stayed in the final cut. Audiences gasped, thinking they had just seen a man's life end for real. Leone fought with his cinematographer constantly. Tonino Delle Colli had worked with Leone before, but this time the partnership cracked. Leone wanted every frame drenched in amber melancholy. Colli preferred clarity. They argued daily about lighting and exposure. Leone accused him of betraying the dream. Colli shouted back that he was saving it from darkness. Crew members said the tension on set felt electric. During one heated exchange, Leone smashed a light meter on the floor and stormed off. Yet when he saw the dailies, he whispered that Colli had been right. Their battle produced one of the most visually haunting films in history. Each shot feels soaked in memory because it was born from conflict between light and shadow. De Niro and Woods rehearsed a fight until they bled. The brutal confrontation near the end where Noodles and Max face off was rehearsed for days. Leone wanted raw fury, no choreography. He told them to hit each other for real until the emotion broke through. De Niro and Woods agreed. After several takes, both men were bruised and bleeding. Crew begged Leone to use stunt doubles. He refused. When Woods fell to the ground, his shoulder dislocated, but he stayed in character screaming Noodles' name. Leone kept rolling until the camera jammed. That moment remains untouched in the film. Every grunt, every gasp, every drop of sweat came from real pain. Leone later said, "I needed truth, and truth always hurts." Hundreds of hours of footage went missing. After filming wrapped, Leone had more than 800,000 feet of film stock. That is enough for nearly 9 full movies. During post-production, several reels mysteriously disappeared from a New York storage facility. Leone believed the studio ordered them destroyed to speed up editing. Others claimed the footage was simply mislabeled and lost. Inside those reels were full subplots about Max's political rise and Noodles' years in exile. Leone called it the memory of a life erased. Decades later, restoration experts recovered some fragments from Italian archives, but entire sequences remain gone forever. Fans still search for clues in production notes, hoping one day the missing hours will reappear like ghosts from forgotten celluloid dreams. Sergio Leone collapsed during editing. Leone's obsession with detail broke his body. During the final editing months, he refused to leave the cutting room. He slept on a couch surrounded by reels. Assistants said he lived on espresso and cigarettes. One morning, he collapsed from exhaustion and was rushed to the hospital. Doctors ordered him to rest, but he returned within days, claiming he had no time left. When the studio demanded the shorter version, Leone realized his decade-long vision was slipping away. He told his editor, "We are burying a friend." After the premiere fiasco, he withdrew from filmmaking for good. He never directed another movie. The masterpiece that had consumed him also consumed his strength. The film was banned in several countries. When Once Upon a Time in America premiered overseas, it faced outrage. Censors in the United Kingdom cut nearly 20 minutes of violence and sexual content. In some Middle Eastern countries, it was banned entirely for blasphemy and immorality. Even Italy delayed its release due to political concerns. The depiction of Jewish gangsters and corrupt cops infuriated community leaders. But in France and Japan, critics hailed it as poetic realism at its darkest. Leone said, "Some nations fear their reflection." The bans only added to its mythic aura. Viewers traded smuggled VHS tapes like sacred relics, whispering about lost scenes that could shatter your soul. The film's shadow reputation made it bigger than censorship could ever contain. The cast thought the ending was a dream. During production, Leone refused to explain the final smile to any actor. De Niro asked what it meant, and Leone simply said, "The truth does not exist." James Woods believed the entire story after the childhood scenes took place in Noodles' dying mind inside the opium den. Elizabeth McGovern thought the smile symbolized forgiveness. Leone encouraged all interpretations. He wanted audiences to question memory itself. On set, he once told the crew, "Time is the only gangster who wins." That single idea became the soul of the film, whether dream hallucination or reality. The ending forces viewers to face their own nostalgia. Nothing is certain, only the ache of what might have been. Leone died, planning a director's cut. Before his death in 1989, Sergio Leone was negotiating with Warner Brothers to restore his complete vision. He had already located missing footage and written new notes for an extended director's cut. Friends said he planned to release it as 2 parts totaling nearly 6 hours. He called it "The Version I Owe to the Ghost of Noodles." But before the project began, he suffered a fatal heart attack while preparing another film about the siege of Leningrad. The restoration was eventually completed decades later, but Leone never saw it. His masterpiece finally lived the way he dreamed, as an endless reflection of time, guilt, and impossible love. Bonus fact: the final shot hid a secret message. In the last frame, Noodles lies back smiling as the opium smoke drifts upward. Most viewers see a blur, but freeze that moment and you will notice faint shapes in the mist. Leone's cinematographer revealed years later that he used a double exposure technique to imprint flickering images from earlier scenes. A child running through the street, Deborah spinning on stage, Max raising his glass. Leone wanted memory itself to dissolve into smoke. It was his farewell to cinema, a reminder that film, like life, burns bright only for a moment before vanishing into light. Leone's Once Upon a Time in America was not a gangster film. It was a meditation on time, guilt, and betrayal painted with blood and nostalgia. Every frame carried the ache of a man chasing perfection. Every cut echoed the sound of loss. If you felt those ghosts too, go ahead and like and subscribe, because some stories are too beautiful to forget.